Good morning, everyone. A good davach, good Zimmer. Welcome back to a new week. We have a full week of Mishnayos this week. Yontif is behind us, and we can now learn every day. Baruch Hashem. Today's shiur is Lili Nishmas Aaron Nachum Simcha Cohen. Yishul Mordechai B'Shefsel Bracha Sarah B'Shmuel Leib B'Yam Moshe Ben Yosef. May the Hashem was to have an aliyah and Fush Leva Yisrael Ben Rachalea Racha Bas Pesach Zelda Avram Yisrael Ben Risha Chaya Bas Bebela Fush Leva B'Soch Shar Chol Yisrael. And of course, special shout out to our good friends at the Imperial Advisory Group. If you need a CFO help for your businesses, please reach out to them. They're in the business for over 30 years, and they can help you with your business needs. Visit them at the website, www.imperialgrp.com. Okay, today we're learning Perek Vav of Maseches Kesuvos, Mishnah Aleph. Metzias ha'isha ma'isi yedea l'bayla. The wife's finds and her work belongs to her husband, meaning that if she picks up a lost object that does not need to return to its owner, if it needs to be returned to the owner, then you have to return it. But if it does not need to be returned to the owner, because there's no simanim or whatever the rules are for there, then the item belongs to her husband. The same is true of any income that she earns or objects that she makes, such as threads that she spins some wool. These are already discussed last week. Was repeated here as an intro into the new topic. V'yushasa, however, regarding property that she inherits, who ochel peros b'chayaha, he eats its produce in her lifetime, but the property itself belongs to her. So, if one of her relatives passes away and left the property as a Yerusha, she keeps the actual property, but he can benefit from what that property produces. Bashta upagama shalom. Payments for her shame and for her devaluation are hers. And they're used to buy land, which is hers to keep, and the husband eats its produce. Yehuda ben Beseira, that's all talking about, if she, there's 5 payments when someone is injured. Shame and devaluation are 2 of them. So she keeps those. Maybe Yehuda ben Beseira, Ben Beseira says, if the injury is on a hidden part of her body, then 2 parts of these payments are hers and 1 part is his. He retains part of the payments because of the rule of the halacha of ishto kegufo. Therefore, it's partially his as well. It was man if the injury is on an exposed part of her body, like her face, neck, or hands, in which case the husband also suffers, then 2 parts of the payments are his and 1 part is hers. So if she gets injured and a part that's covered up, like her stomach or her legs, which are covered, then she gets most of it. But if it's public, then he gets most of it. Shalom Yidasabiyah, because his portion is given to him immediately and it is entirely his. And her portion is used to buy land. This belongs to her, but he eats its produce. Because if the injury is visible on the part of her body that's exposed, so it's not just her embarrassment, it's also his embarrassment. So therefore, he gets compensated as well. Mr. Base, The regarding one who pledged to give a certain amount of money to his son-in-law as a dowry. Excuse me, but his son-in-law died before the chasna and left a surviving brother in the yavam who wants to marry the widow in ibum, and he is now claiming the dowry for himself. The Chachamim said that the father-in-law could say to the surviving brother, I was willing to give it to your brother, but I'm not willing to give it to you. Even though the father had committed himself to give the dowry to a daughter's first husband, he does not have to give it to the surviving brother. Um, right. Mishnah Gimel Pascha, the Hachni Slow Eladina. If so, so how is this? How is now we're going to talk about how this is written in the Kesuvos. So if she pledged to bring 1,000 dinars into the marriage for him, who posted Knegda Chamisha Asar Mana. He must pledge to pay her 15 manas, which is 1,500 dinars, in their place in the event of divorce or his death. Since he can use the cash to make a profit, the Chum obligated a husband to have 50% for a dowry of cash. So the addition of 50% does not violate the Issa Deraisa of Ribis, because this is not considered to be a loan. This is the Ksuba, and the Ksuba is not a loan. But against the appraised goods, who posek pachos chamesh, he may pledge to pay their appraised value less 1/5, meaning that if they're appraised at 1,000 dinars, he may write that he'll pay back 800 dinars. So he's allowed to deduct a fifth because the value of goods in the dowry is usually exaggerated. Shum b'mana v'shava. If the appraised goods were appraised to be worth 100 dinars, one mana, and they were actually worth one mana, they did not exaggerate. Ein lo alamana, he has no choice but to write that he will pay back one mana. Shum b'mana, if the groom was told this 100 dinar worth of appraised goods, he knows goods that are appraised at 31 sellers and a dinar, which is 125 dinars. As 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 we already discussed, the amount recorded in the ksuba is like 100 dinars. He must be given goods appraised at 125 dinars. But similarly, if the chasim was told to write 400 dinars worth of appraised goods, he knows senes chamish meos. She must give him goods that are appraised at 500 dinars. Here too, the reason is that the amount recorded in the ksuba is a fifth less than the appraised value. Mash chasim posik. What a groom pledges, whether before the appraisal or after the appraisal, or whether the amount is large or small, who posik pachos chamesh, he pledged the fifth less than the appraised value. Okay. Mishnah Dalit. Pascal hachnis lo kesef. If she pledged to bring cash into the marriage for him, sell kesef nasa shisha dinar, and she pledged a seller, which is 4 dinars, and becomes 6 dinars in a ksuba, meaning that the chasam must write in the ksuba that he will pay her back 6 dinars, which is an increase of 50%, as we had discussed. Chasam mekabel love asara dinarin. The chassan accepts upon himself that for every with the cash of goods, of her dowry for cosmetic supplies. Does not say whether, but does not specify whether the entire payment is given to her on the first day or it's spread over a period of time. Everything is done according to local custom. Um, the halachos in these two mishnayos apply only in communities that do not have an established custom yet. Where there is an established custom, the custom must be followed. Mishnah Hey. If one marries off his daughter without specifying the contents or value of her dowry, he may not give less than 50 zuz for her. Pasak le'achnisa aruma. If the father stipulated to her husband he will bring her into her husband's home without clothes, he will stop providing her with clothes before the wedding, and the husband accepted this stipulation, thereby committing to himself to clothe her from that time on. And the husband cannot say, after I bring her to my home, I will dress her in clothes that befit my higher status, but until then, I will give her clothes that befit her father's lower status. Rather, he must dress her in clothes that befit his higher status, even when she is still in her father's home. Similarly, when the local stuckers marry off a girl who's an orphan, he may not give her less than 50 zuz for a dowry, even if no tzedakah is available and he has to borrow the money. So if there is money in the kupa and he does not need to borrow, the farnasin of the fikoda, she must be supported in a manner that befits her status. They have to provide that for her because it would be really embarrassing if she went from her father's house to her husband's house in the clothing of poor people and not in the elegant garments that are appropriate for this special occasion. Therefore, he must dress her in a manner that accords with his higher social status. Okay, Mishnah Vav. Yisoma shehistiyasa ima o acha midaita. Regarding a young orphan katana who was married off by her mother or brothers with her consent, because the father is nishdu. And they wrote in her ksuba a dowry 100 or 50 zuz from the father's estate. When she becomes an adult, she is allowed to take from that which she deserves to be given, meaning 1/10 of the estate. Since she was a katana when she consented to the smaller amount, her agreement has no legal standing. And Yehuda says, if the father had married off an older daughter and provided her with a dowry before he died, you're not saying that the dowry given to the second one should be the same as the dowry he had given to the first, whether it is more than 1/10 of his estate or less than 1/10. The Chacham say, sometimes a person is stingy and then becomes generous, or sometimes he is generous and then becomes stingy. Since the person's level of generosity can change, we cannot assume that it was that if the father was still alive, he would give the second daughter the same amount that he gave the first one. Rather, we appraise his possessions and give her 1/10. And Mishnah Zion, the last one for today. Amash lishmalos levito. Someone gave money before he died to a trustee to buy a field for the dowry of his daughter, he marries Naaman Baali Olai. But after she was betrothed, she said to the trustee, I trust my husband to buy the field, so give the money to him. The trustee must do what he was appointed to do. He must buy the field himself as her father instructed, because it's a mitzvah to listen to the words of the nifter. This is according to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yossi disagrees and he says, if there is only a field, meaning that the trustee had already brought a field with the money and the daughter wanted to sell it, it is as good as sold from this very moment. She has the right to sell it. If she had sold the field, she would be able to use the money however she wants, including giving it to her husband. Since she has the power to get the money to her husband, in any event, she can insist that it be given to him in the first place. This machlokas between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Meir applies only during Erisin, before the daughter is fully married. Once she's married, everyone agrees that she can order the trustee to give the money to her husband. However, even a married woman is limited in the following aspect. Which case does this ruling apply? The Gadola. It applies in the case of an adult woman. When the case of a child, the katana, the rule is that the act of the child is meaningless. She cannot insist that the money be given to her husband. And that is all for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Perek. A wonderful day.